all roads lead to one single place, Homelander. This character has become increasingly crazy about words, a dirty look, or even a sneeze. That's all it takes. When he is in a bad mood, he could easily end your life. The thing is, now that he sees himself as this transcendent god, he leaves no room for doubt. He's simply going to push the entire world if necessary, just to make everyone worship and love him. Such is his need, and such is, the emptiness in his mind and heart. Even if the world ends, I will be the God among the ashes, the only one. At the end of the day, all he wants is attention, to somehow be loved or respected, something he will never get because of how pathetic he truly is. This character must be eliminated in this final season. The boy had to step up and deal with the most dangerous threat the world has ever faced. Guys, this is in the end of The Boys. 5 seasons and almost 7 years on TV. This is the show that made it popular to mock superheroes and the whole genre, with its unique style, bizarre, gore, and of course satire. The Boys is coming to an end. It's promising to close in the best way possible. And let's be honest, the whole season was very bad. Many fans were afraid that the finale will be disappointed or not good enough, because the show was losing its magic. It seemed like the show could not go anymore, but surprise, it's given us a truly epic ending, at least for me. It's very emotional ending. It meets the expectation from the beginning of the show, and also a little bit of expectation from the comics. And obviously, the show always changed themes from the comics, but it gave these heroes a good ending. Honestly, this season finally is getting a lot of criticism. But what surprised me is that people are attacking the final episode instead of the season as a whole. Left a lot to be, the best season. Is it bad from the start to finish? It offered almost nothing and it felt ridiculous. It has a few good moments, and that is what made me angry. It showed that the writer know how to make a good series, but they prefer to focus on their own cultural and political agendas. So, in the end, it really surprised me why criticize an episode that actually respects the spirit of the first season instead of criticizing the terrible season we just had. And this episode gives satisfaction to everyone. First, let's start with the supporting character like the Deep. If anyone had any doubt, this episode finally reveals his miserable, parasitic nature. I think it's very ironic how Homelander and the Deep are so similar and how cowardly they are. In the end, this character gets exactly what deserved at the hands of the sea creature that were his friends. The one he promised to protect. He was like the Aquaman of this world, the protector of the ocean. But ironically and poetically, he destroyed by the very animals he betrayed. And well, guys, many people were shocked and saying, wow, they made fun of absolutely everything. But, well, it's a satire now. For example, we had the funeral scene of Franchi, where they take something that was very emotional before and they turn it into a joke. The letter they read was hilarious, stupid, and super funny. You wanted to feel sad, but at the same time, you were dying of laughter. That is the true soul of the show, and that is exactly how you had to take it. In fact, the writers are telling you directly, don't take it so seriously. And actually, many people are complaining about this, saying that there are so many plot opens. But if a character leaves because they want to disappear, that is their ending. You don't need to invent anything else. It's like Sage. I almost forgot the name. Her story ended when she finally freed from her power that actually made her suffer because she couldn't live a natural life. And now, without all that overthinking, she she can just live a normal life. That is her happy ending. Why do people need to see every single detail of what she does next? Or you wanna see it in the Orlando in Harry Potter park or whatever? And actually, that something happened with this character, Queen Meave, that she left because she held in one moment that something happened, and what else? That is the point. She lived and now is happy and whatever in the world, and that is the perfect ending for Chief. What is the point to see more about those characters? It doesn't matter anymore. But alright, guys, let's talk about the grand finale, the fight everyone was waiting for. Okay, the boys finally infiltrate the White House to face Homelander, who actually mentioned is he's not afraid of Butcher. Super mistake. Many people are complaining and saying, oh, how is possible? In season 3, it took 3 people to face Homelander. Now it's different. Well, he had to die somehow, right? If we forget the bad writing during the whole season, why can't we forget this little detail in the end? This was the resolution, the defeat of Homelander. I think people are just looking for an excuse to complain if you ask me. It was completely fine. Then we had Ryan, who arrived to help to stop Homelander. Actually, Kimiko used her laser, Homelander loses all his power, and then we get exactly what we came for. Pam, pam, pam in the face, man. Super epics. And and of course, I had seen people saying, oh my god, now how could they humiliate the villain like that? But it was really clear that Homelander is a coward. We all knew that. Here we see his cowardice at its maximum level. He goes through the stage of a grief because he knows he's about to die. First, he cannot accept it. We see him humiliate himself like never before, doing desperate and pathetic things that are perfect for memes. But in the end, he refuses to accept his reality and says, I'm Homelander. They promised me I will be a god. Honestly, this part alone was the worth the whole episode. It made us forget about this terrible season. It felt very close to the spirit of the comics, and I really enjoyed it. I know it is still different from the comic book ending, but it was satisfying enough to say this is a great episode and a great series finale. Then we had the tragic end of Butcher. It is a bit different from the comic, but it had the same resolution. His death finally ends this cycle of violence. Something I really love is when Ryan tells him, you are a bad person. Ryan didn't shoot Butcher over Homelander. He just knew Homelander was a global threat that had to disappear. We also see that Butcher's mind completely break when Terror died. Poor Dot. The dog was his last connection to humanity, his last link to reality. After losing him, Butcher just wanted to destroy everything with the virus. He was going to commit a total genocide against all souls. That is exactly what the team was trying to avoid. In the end, that's why Huey had to make the hard decision to stop him. Now, if you ask me, I would have preferred an ending closer to the comics, where Butcher actually killed half of the team. Franchi was already gone, and I think that dark twist would have given, the finale much more intensity. Instead, we got a more family-friendly ending, something more digestible and nicer. Honestly, fans should be relieved because they would have complained even more if the show followed the brutal comic book canon. See, but Kimiko had the saddest ending. Since she is immortal, she will have to watch all her friends grow old and pass away. On the other hand, the ending for Hugo was beautiful. He is wearing the exact same jacket from the very first episode of the season 1. It is a great parallel to how everything started. With Huey and Starlight holding hands, Only this time Starlight flies away, even though she is pregnant. She's continued to be a superhero. Her duty to protect the city is a very interesting way to show that she never stopped being hero. However, we can see a total piece of mind in Hugh's character. You would think he might be worried because Starlight is pregnant and still fighting crime, but his face just shows pure satisfaction. For him, everything is fine and everything is cool. It was a peaceful ending for his character. For me, this episode was a 10 out of 10. I love everything and I enjoy every single moment. Homelander end was shocking, and the fate of Deep was highly satisfying for his hater. As I said, it was a family-friendly ending. If you thought the comic book ending was too dark, this gives you a sense of relief because the power of friendship and love won, and the most of the team survived. And actually, Ryan goes to live with Mother Mill and his family. That, by the way, their reunion was something beautiful and, something cute. So, this season gave us a lot to talking about. Let me in the comment below, did you love the finally the boys as much I did, or are you just looking for the cue to complain about every little detail? Actually, for me, this episode was an absolutely 10 out of 10. It's incredible. Let me know in your thoughts. For me, the final was completely enjoyable. Remember to subscribe for more. We are going to have a lot of new reviews coming up, including The Mandalorian, Spider-Man, the new movie of Brand New Day, and the new series from Amazon Prime that actually is Spider-Man Noir. You kind of missed that. Comment to the channel because we have many analyses on the way. See you there.